Hello and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if I did this right. I am not Will. I am not a D&D6 icon. I am just me, Charlie, at Frost from Fire. But I am very excited to be back here and doing roll-up. Fridays, chat is a good time. And I am so glad to see so many of you here with us today. Thank you as ever for the retweets and support. I know we're running a tiny bit late, but thanks again to James and Stephanie for that wonderful conversation about Threadbares and RPG in general. So what we're doing today, we are doing Dark Matter by Mage Hand Press, and I have the one and the only Pruitt with me today. That side. There we go, reversed. Deep dive into space.
Yeah. Well, in space, can you dive in space? Is that a thing?
I think so. I think you can propel yourself.
Yeah, it's true. Right? Only if you're near a gravitational well, like a planet, moon, or some other celestial body. But we all know that. Yes, it's exciting to be here. I remember when you told me about this, I was like, well, we played Dark Matter. Why not? Yeah. So it's been fun kind of going through the material. You know, I helped back the Kickstarter, and it's a lot of fun to look at. I'll say that.
We did actually play Dark Matter when it was during its Kickstarter. We played, and I think that's possibly the funniest game I've played in my entire life. It started out so serious. This was Will bringing 40k and 5e together, and we ended up having interesting experiments. That's how I'm going to frame it.
Well, I mean, your character certainly had some interesting experiments. There was a bit of probing, a bit of other things. Samples were taken, they were examined, and conclusions were made. And I think it's the fact that your character had a lot of fun being a humanoid.
She was definitely human. I don't know what you're talking about. And
that's what I said.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. And you were, of course, our captain of sorts on the expedition, our fearless leader.
I was the plain Jane vanilla human gunfighter, gunslinger type character, and had a lot of fun with that. I mean, it was a satisfying build. Whether you want to do kind of the overheat thing where you can get extra damage, but you can't do like a rapid fire after that, if I'm remembering correctly, or you can just blast away with 2 pistols. I literally had the whole thing planned in my mind as like, this is how this guy fights: big ass shot, double shot. Big ass shot, double shot. And with quick draw, it's just it scratches that itch. I was raised on too many westerns
Space
to
Cowboys.
not play a gunslinger. And so, what's the new frontier but space?
Exactly. Where else can we boldly go now? But yes. I mean, you say you were raised on westerns, but you also know a fair bit about sci-fi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I am a bit of a Trekkie, not a Trekker. I'm old school. And so, yeah, I mean, from the time I was a kid watching reruns of Star Trek and like reruns of they caught it every now and again, some Battlestar Galactica. I remember when I was like, it was when I was like 10 to 12, whenever it's like the 20th anniversary of Star Trek or something like that, of the original series. I think it was 87. So never mind, it would have been 8, I guess. Maybe it was the 15th anniversary. It doesn't matter. Anyway, sorry, I get sidetracked sometimes. I don't want to get busted on some minute detail. Anyway, I was like 10 or 12, and they were having a marathon. And I was like, and it was during the middle of the summer. I didn't have school, but I still had a bedtime. And it was like, I begged my parents. I was like, can I please stay up all night and watch the top 5 episodes of Star Trek ever? Which of course one of them was like the Doomsday Device, and then the one about tomorrow. Oh my God, I'm going blank with the Portal. I hate myself right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I stayed up. I think I made it till about 2:30 in the morning, and then I gave up the ghost. Now I was recording it, so technically when I woke up, I watched it. But the fact of being able to see it was just, they were literally taking you to other worlds. And I realized it was cheesy effects, but you can't say anything. You had Doctor Who, there were some cheesy effects on Doctor Who as well. And so it's all I wanted to watch. It's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the bridge of the Enterprise. And then, of course, I discovered Star Wars, which everybody did around that time. And it was, and that's just a whole nother version of that. That's the gung-ho action movie versus the very deliberative, we're meeting these new races and we're expanding the light of civilization and the breadth of our own knowledge and making ourselves better versus, the light and the dark and all that. Anyway, that was a very long-winded answer.
I'm kind of like you. I grew up, I think it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm going to say on Sky. It would be, Star Trek time. And we'd watch Next Generation and then Voyager and then Deep Space Nine and so on and so forth as they came out all the way up to Enterprise. And that's kind of how I grew up. And the Stargates as well. So all of this, I always want to go on these away missions. I'm okay with being the red shirt. I'm okay with, touching the gooey plant. And that kind of comes through, I think, in how I play D&D. I'm okay with sniffing the warp stone. It's fine.
just a little sniff. I didn't snort it. I just smelled it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think when Will came to us and was like, there's this thing called dark matter and it's D&D in space, I was like, yes, because I know just about how to play 5e and I love space, and the idea that I didn't have to learn any new rules and I could, deep dive into getting to play in space. I was so excited about that. And then my character Trinity kind of turned into Data crossed with every sleazy doctor in the original series, I guess.
Well, never forget that Data I think it was the first season. I mean, he got some, Tasha Yar was like, I want to check out your specs, man.
Let me see your hardware.
Yeah, I want to see your hardware and see how much RAM you have. And I think he showed her exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, it's baked in there. That's what I love about this, because all sci-fi is an extrapolation of what we already know, right? And the whole thing is at the end of the day, for the most part, humans don't really change. Our circumstances change, our technology changes, our ability to deal with things changes. But going back to almost the caves, for the most part, we're humans, right? And I think no greater example of this. One reason I love doing a show with a history major is you can learn from history. And so I'm literally like a one-man class half the time where Jim starts talking about something. And one of my favorite things that he talks about is like this letter from this Roman outpost right on the edge of Germania. And it's like, it's normal bullshit of just like, hey, we need these supplies and we need this thing. And then at the very bottom, there's a postscript. Oh, by the way, please do not forget about the beer. These guys are going crazy and they need to get drunk. And that basically led to that. And it's just like, you know what? We really haven't changed. Like, not at all. We just kind of want to, we need to get drunk sometimes and relax.
Yeah. I recently been reading about a lot of French history and about the various Napoleons who came after the first Napoleons. Mm-hmm. And there's Napoleon 3.5, as he's known. And he basically decided that he wanted to go to war. And so he joined the British Army. And so they went, all right, you can join the army, but you can't go and do anything interesting. Yeah. And then he gets out to Zululand. This was during, I think, the Crimean War, maybe. And he manages to talk himself into going on a little expedition. And so they go down the river and they find an abandoned Zulu camp. And he's like, let's go and stop and make some coffee. And so they stop and they make coffee. And I was like, this is going to be a disaster. I didn't know the story ahead of time. But this idea of these like British officers and this prince in disguise just sat on the bank of this river in this abandoned war-torn camp making coffee. And then, of course, they're attacked by like 40 Zulus. The prince is killed. The Brits bail and blame the Frenchmen. And, history for you. But
isn't that always the way? Aren't the Brits always blaming the Frenchmen?
Well, I mean, not without reason. But anyway.
But that leads back to my original point, though, which is we haven't really changed. So when we go into space and we get teleporters and we get whatever, It's still going to be the same. It's going to be the same crap. We're still going to be worried about drinking Romulan ale when you're not supposed to. I mean, and that's what this all wraps around to, is a love of sci-fi and a love of going out and exploring the unknown. I mean, for me, when it comes to like D&D and to wrap this around to gaming, I was a horrible DM forever. And I know Jim and Emma and all them would be like, no, you're great. But I had never had a campaign go past, like, I was that DM that I couldn't get past like the fourth adventure. And it would fizzle because I was running high fantasy and I was running just bog standard D&D. And then I find these Spelljammer books at a half price books, and I got them for $20, and I read through them. And then I ran a year-long campaign with Jim and Emma and Josh and my friend Audie. And it was fucking amazing because it was my wheelhouse. And it's what my current Starward Bound, my Tuesday night game, same thing. We're having a blast over there, and it's just D&D in space. And I think that I've talked to many people who were like, yeah, but I don't want my sci-fi all up in my D&D. And I'm like, but why not? Like, what's the difference? You like Star Trek, right? You like Star Wars, right? That's just D&D in space. There's elves, there's orcs. They're called different names, but it's all the same shit. I mean,
the line between fantasy and sci-fi is tiny. It's terms and conditions, basically.
And it only exists because of our. I mean, it started with Jack Vance. It started back in the day together. It was science fantasy. John Carter of Mars was science fantasy. It was only really with Tolkien that the hard split, and fantasy became one thing, and then science fiction became another. And that's why I like bringing it back around to the original. We can close the circle here, and we can all have a little fun with our D&D in space.
Amen. And so why don't we talk about a little bit about the dark matter universe, because this expansion gives you not only, the races, some classes, some subclasses, but it gives you a pot of lore that you can dip into if you don't already have your own idea for a setting.
Yeah, that it does. I love the idea of these one of the big like ways of traveling, these malls, like these giant skeletons of these cosmic beasts left behind, and inside their mouths are these like these portals through the void. It's very Mass Effect, and I love that because everybody borrows from everybody for inspiration and whatever, and so it's just finding that thing that really resonates with you that matters. And so the malls and what is it called, let me look at my notes here. The sepulcher star, like I love that. It kind of reminds me of, like, I just think of the God Emperor in Warhammer 40K a little bit, like this beacon that helps guide people around the cosmos. And also just having like the void there, and how most of these ships transverse great distances. They make these void jumps where they don't have to travel through the void like Warhammer 40K and worry about picking up like a void demon, but it's, I like it. The races that are in here that are introduced are a lot of fun. They're very, they have a distinctiveness to them, but you can feel the influences of stories and shows, movies, books, whatever past,
Definitely. You have the standards of D&D in here. You have the humans, the elves, the orcs, the goblins, the dwarves, and the gnomes, and they have some really fun new flavor in Dark Matter. And then you have new races like the Amoeboids, the Avira, the Vect, the Scarthi, I think is one of them.
Scathari?
Scathari, who I'm really good at saying made up words. Who bring
Charlie,
in
all words are made up.
This is true. That's a discussion for later.
It's for the philosophers.
These familiar flavors that we know. For example, the Avia Ra have the kind of Egyptian feel to them. They remind me, they worship a sun god. They kind of almost remind me of the Goa'uld from Stargate a little bit. Not in terms of they have a symbiote in them, but they're very strict and religious and regimented and have a staunch system of belief.
Mm-hmm. They're the evangelists. They got story to tell you. Praise the sun. They're the race for your dark sun. Dark Souls followers out there. You know, if you really want to praise the sun, get on the bird bandwagon.
And obviously, when we played Dark Matter and we only had the Kickstarter material, the Amiiboys just shouted to me, I wanted to be Flubber. I wanted to be Odo. I wanted to be that shifter who could change shape to mimic anyone. Mm-hmm. But also is so alien and so curious about everything that's around them. They blend in so that they can, you know, find out what life is. And that for me is a really big theme in any game I play. I always want to explore what humanity is and learning things.
Oh, no, most definitely. Being that wallfly, except that wallfly isn't a fly. It's actually a blob of amoeba. And it's just watching you. There's no judgment. It's just watching. So
it's just watching. It's just curious.
So continue, please. You know, the Amiiboid. One thing I love about the Amiiboid. Wait, are we talking about abilities and stuff right now?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. One thing I love about the Amiiboid is not only can you alter yourself, but you can go a little Mr. Fantastic. You know, you can kind of reach out, like it's like 8 or 10 feet or something like that, that's a lot of fun. I mean, how many situations, like, what would a jailbreak look like with an Amiiboid? You know, if they didn't know it was an Amiiboid, and then, you know, the keys are on the wall, you just gotta reach through those bars. Hang on a second. Oh wait, it doesn't matter as long as there's an inch hole. I can turn it basically like a squid, like squeeze through it because this amorphous body that they have. And I love that, and I'm slightly repulsed by it. Like when you think about like what that would be like to be around, just be like a little like under the door frame, you just see some smuts there, and you're like, so and so's been in my room. Oh crap. You know, if you get stalked by an Amiiboid, here's the thing: you make sure your room is like airtight, because they're gonna get in.
And the other really cool fun thing about them is that they have this regeneration power, which makes total sense when you can be kind of any shape and you can reshape yourself so much. So when you get hit with that slashing damage, I think it is that triggers it, you can, you know, slowly knit back together. And that makes total sense without being ridiculously overpowered, without unbalancing a 5e game. Because we see other races in traditional 5e who can do things like regeneration. For example, the Revenant that came in with Curse of Strahd. Mm-hmm. And for example, the Half-Orc, when they get knocked down and they bounce back up with that 1 HP, that massive resilience they have. So it's really interesting that you can have these different things, but it's still within the 5e framework. Which other races?
Most definitely, because I mean the thing about it, I mean it's a D4, right? Which you're thinking, but I mean if a dagger sticks you for 3 damage, you can heal that. Right? If they don't have a modifier to add to it, but it does cost you your reaction. So, you know, when you have your Amiiboids that can do things like a shield for a reaction versus this, you do start to have some choices you have to make. Do you want to prevent the damage or do you want to just repair from the damage? Mm-hmm. But it's great for the more melee based characters if you're going to be doing that kind of thing with an Amiiboid, which you can. Why not? But having that reaction heal, it's pretty nice. I really dig it.
Especially for lower levels, when you're first diving into space exploration and you make all the red coat mistakes. This is going to be a clutch moment that you reaction and you just go, whoop, and then people kind of go, oh shit, you're actually not what you look like. And so that's a really cool role-play moment you could have. And then also, you're still in the fight. You're still in this moment.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Wait, did you say red coat?
Yes.
You know, the war's over. We won both times, right? So you don't.
I know you went to the Revolutionary Museum this weekend.
I did. There are pictures to prove it. And we had a good time, and we learned about how we won and how we kicked y'all's ass. And that's fine.
While we're cycling around the French. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving back to Dark Matter. Which other
I love
races
it.
and abilities stood out to you? Let's talk about
Okay,
those.
so I would like to run just right down the list. The Aviara. Okay, I look at this and I'm like, why? Right? Because we already have the Arakakra, which they can fly. You already have the Kinku, which are basically the same thing but ravens. But then when you start like looking at it, I love how their society is so tied in to what this character is. I mean, these are your solar prophets, right? These are your sun priests. They come the life in all the universe is birthed from the sun, right? From suns exploding and spreading things around and condensing and reforming solar systems, right? And so I love the fact that there's this race that hey, they're here. We know why we're here, and we're going to tell you why you're here and why you should be
Yeah.
praising this. Like all the stuff that they get, you get that religion skill, you get that blessing, which is just kind of like a bless that is an extra awesome. If you roll a 4, you get an advantage on that roll. I mean, it's once per long rest, but I like it. It's just a touch of just awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe when you need it. The fact that you get Sacred Flame and Thaumaturgy, I mean, come on. Those are two amazing cantrips on top of basically getting a first level spell once a day.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in line with like a tiefling or something like that. But
Yep.
the last thing I love is the fact that they are a wisdom dex character. I have already formed like 4 different monks in my head, like basically like some version of a sun monk. I'm thinking something along the lines of like the Sun Warriors from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean, it's right there on the page.
And another great option would be a druid. If you think about it, these guys are still following the laws of nature. They're just looking at that energy into matter portion instead of the matter into trees portion.
Exactly.
So they're still very naturally driven and connected to that. And obviously wisdom dex, that works really well for a druid. That's a really great combo for a druid.
Oh, it's an amazing combo. I mean, whether you want to be shifter or something a little bit more heavy caster, you're helped out regardless. It's just, man, it's a fun race, and like reading through some of the lore of like how like these are the guys that like show up and they're like, have you heard about our church?
I like how it explicitly states they're humanoid from the neck down, but they are in no way related to humans, unlike other humanoid adjacent species.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like we look like you, but we're good. We're good, fam.
It's that shutdown of the classic, all half orcs, all half elves, and a half human thing. When no, these are all on their own. But I mean, give Captain Kirk and Riker some time, and we'll see some half hybrids. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
Hey, I'm sure there is a chair in a bar somewhere that Riker's going to swing his leg right over and plop down right next to an Aviara, and you don't even know what's going to come out after that. Because I mean, leave it to humans to get up in some alien genes, if you know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
Okay, what is next on our list? No, this is exactly what it was like all weekend, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then we've got the dwarves. Going down the list in the alpha PDF, which I 100% recommend everyone goes and checks out, is a really complete and beautiful PDF, and it's all well labeled, which I appreciate heartily. So we have the dwarves, who very recognizable, almost as D&D dwarves, but they're space dwarves. And the lore around them is because they are usually on heavy gravity planets. That's why their stature is shorter, why they like living underground on their spaceships. And they're great engineers as well.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't they be? Like, they're dwarves, right? This is the industrious race that you want to be building your dark matter engine. I mean, they're also like they're the ones that first discovered basically like blaster technology, even though it was kind of short range, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, I love playing dwarves. I mean, hell, I'm playing one right now in the Warhammer game.
Yeah, you are.
He just got some weapons from the 41st century, so.
That was serious dreams coming through on Wednesday. I could see it all over your face. Just
well, it was the realization only Jim Davis would throw in 40k weapons in a Warhammer fantasy game, and I know that. And the second those weapons are out, in my head, I knew exactly what was on that plate, and I'm like, I love Jim Davis. It's anyway. But yes, I mean, dwarves are gonna fuck some shit up. Oh wait, I'm sorry. How blue are we working here? My bad.
It's Friday. It's free time. Chat know what we're like.
Okay,
We're
cool.
good to go. And that brings us down to elves. And okay, so something really cool that Dagmar have come up with for the lore is elves go through something called a naming ceremony, and it's here where they kind of decide which race they're going to change to. All elves, space elves, star elves, sorry, are born kind of like clones. They're kind of clones of this perfection, and then they go through this naming process, and they can become wood elves, high elves, bay elves, I think is one of the options. And they kind of diverge in that way. And I love this idea that you choose the path that you go down and the form that you take. I really like that as a story hook.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of choice. Like, normally it's a metagame choice what kind of elf you want to be, right? I mean, it's just like, I want to be a wood elf because I like these mechanics. Now, I mean, there still is a metagame choice, but I like that it is an in-game decision. And just the ramifications of that, like changing the course of your, I don't know. I'm right there with you. I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm almost always an elf first, always elf character player. It's just the way I've always been. But only lately in the last few years of me playing, am I just like spread out to all the other races. And now it's like, I mean, I come back to elves when I want to feel at home. And I like that there's something a little bit different here to come home to.
Yeah, I think that's something that's... Oh, there's also the Dark Elf, which obviously is the Drow adjacent. I think that's something that's really clever here in that it is 5e and it is an expansion, but it acknowledges that it's come from D&D, and it goes, here's your familiar things. This is why the lore still makes sense for them. Here's a little bit that's different, but it's not going, we've made everything up. Everything here is new. We've taken the game that you know and love and we've torn it apart and stuck it back together however which way. This has been thought out to be familiar, to make the references to the sci-fi that you love, to make the references to the D&D that you love, and kind of kept it all in. And I think it's done it very cleverly. And again, we have the gnomes, halflings, humans, who all, much like the dwarves and the elves, have, you know, some fresh flavor to them, but they still keep true to what they are at their core. And then we've got the other aliens. Shall we jump into some of the other aliens? So I'm looking at the time, and it's ticking away on us.
Oh, it is ticking right away. Sorry for being long-winded if it was my fault. But
not at all.
But the nautiloids, okay? Because if there's anything we love, it is like a water-based species that builds a suit so they can crawl out of the water. They were like, we ain't got time to evolve. I'm gonna build a spacesuit. Because what are we doing when we go into space but building spacesuits so we don't die? So why is it a far leap for a sentient, some kind of fish species to build a suit to get up on land and then go into space? I mean, they got two up on us. And so that's why I think we need to watch them the most. But I love the nautiloids because it reminds me of the aquatics from the Xindi in Star Trek Enterprise. Like this race that just they live in the water, but they still like to get around,
Yeah, and also kind of like like Gungans, right? They were aquatic. Well, I guess they were more amphibious. But I think
you had to say the G word, Rick. Really, Charlie. We were having such a nice time. We were having such a nice time, and then you have to go and trigger me. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. No, but the nautiloids, I do like the fact that they are amphibious. They can get out of their suit. But they also have like a powerful build. Like these I love how that works. I don't know. It's just the fact of like, do you think it's because of their body or because of their suit that gives them that?
I think there's room there to decide for yourself. And I think the other interesting thing that comes from their lore is that they're aware of their race against extinction. And that's something that humanity is facing all the time. And something that we try and ignore, but is part of our story too, which brings in this like really interesting parallel. You've got something that's so alien to us. They're water-based, not land-based. They're but they're going through the same process, and it's like, hello, it's the same thing. But they're also really cool fish.
Yeah, we're all in this together. But also that aquatic suit that they have, I love it. It's freaking awesome. I mean, it gives you're running around with 13 plus your dex for armor class, and you know, I don't know, it comes with its universal translator. That's fun. What I think it's like the 4th or 5th race. I know some people don't like the what is it? The whatever in the Thousand Worlds of Tomorrow, the Luc Besson movie that just came out not too long ago. Anyway, sorry, I've been cramming a lot of things in my brain this week. So, but anyway, there's a fish people in that movie in the intro, which the intro is amazing. The rest of the movie kind of falls apart. But yeah,
I mean, fish people. I can't help. Fish people. That's our conclusion. Hashtag fish people. Actually, everyone, open a new tab, open up your Twitter, do @MageHandPresh, hashtag fish people. Let them know that we love the Nautilus. Okay, moving down our list. Let's go to the Skithari.
Skithari.
The Skithari. The insectoids.
I mean, yeah, these are going to be your insectoids. There's something kind of like maybe like a mantis type race, because you got to have something like that. I mean, you have to have some sort of insectoid race. I'm too big of a fan of Starship Troopers, books and movies like that. I mean, hell, Aliens is technically kind of like that also.
Yep, definitely.
They're quite scary looking. I mean, you know, when you have 4 legs and 2 arms, you know, that's not going to be something you're going to be able to just. They're no pushovers, is what I'm saying.
And they're kind of framed as wanderers, explorers, but warriors too. They're kind of the more primitive end of things, but they've got like that backbone to them that kind of, I guess, lines up with kind of orc storylines normally. Dark dwarves, I guess, would be another race that's kind of similar. Goliath.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, what I love is they have a very strict society in the lore and dark matter, and so I'm reminded of almost like a samurai code kind of thing, where you just have a very strict set of rules. Thank you, dyslexia. That you have to live by, right? Or you must commit seppuku. If you've never read either the Hagakure or the Art of War, you should read both of those, especially the Hagakure. It's an amazing book, but it's like, how did y'all ever like make it out of there? Because literally you have to commit seppuku for everything because everything's a dishonor. But when I read this Skithari, like I'm reminded of that. Like, you know, they have these taboos that you can roll on. Like you're honor bound to accept any challenge to single combat. I mean, you know, that I've seen people play characters that way many times throughout the years. And so seeing that, like, I'm immediately drawn to something like do a fighter samurai Skithari and just go full tilt with it, because that works also into the fact that they're kind of technophobic. Like they're mistrustful of technology, which, I mean, I know everybody's played a game out there with that person that's like, yeah, my guy doesn't use magic. He hates magic. Right. And so when all the magic items come up for whatever, they still want to roll. And it's like, whoa, dude, you don't like magic, man. We're rolling for the magic items. Just go along. Get the beans ready. We'll be along. But as far as their like actual abilities, I mean, they are meant to get into the scrap, right? I mean, you got your +2 strength, +1 con. The fact that they had once again, they're another creature that has powerful build, because you want that. They have I like that they have both gliding wings, so you don't really have to worry about falling, because you kind of glide down, and you also get resistance on like bludgeoning, slashing, piercing on falling damage. But you also have regenerative, which if you get like something cut off in 24 hours, it grows back. Like how, like, you know, you can totally Deadpool that, you know, you can just shirt cock it and your legs will be back. They'll eventually. But also you get hook claws. You get a climb speed and a glide. I mean, that's two modes of of mobility that most characters don't get. I mean, and you get them both. So I really do like that. And then also their adaptive metabolism. You can spend 3 minutes in the vacuum of space. That's good, bro. I'll be out here for half an hour. You can.
I mean,
I
know who I'm sending to spacewalk, right?
Yeah.
This is who you put out that door when you need a repair on the outside of your ship.
Oh, definitely. I mean, what I love is anybody out there, like one of my favorite video games is on the PC, and it is called FTL. It is an amazing game, and there's a race in there called the Mantis. And like literally looking at this, it's like, yeah, there's the Mantis right there. They're awesome. Not great at repairing stuff, so they're not good with technology, but they can fight like a motherfucker. And so yeah, it's right there. And I'm a more fighter based character maker, so I look at these guys, and I immediately come up with about 10 different characters that I want to play.
Also would work for a monk. It would be an interesting strength monk, but I think that also would line up with the way of life, with the taboos and things like that, and the honor code, hand-to-hand combat, gladiator fighters, champion fighters. Barbarian would be really interesting. The fact that your own character can maybe cross a taboo line by getting too angry, but that gives you the strength to survive, to fight on, to do the right thing over a longer term goal as well.
Oh yeah.
But it'd be super interesting to see someone play a cleric or a warlock or a wizard, something that's almost against type, to see the arc that goes there. These could be revolutionaries for these people, for these groups of people who bring new tech, new thought. There's just so much room, and this is why I love is whether you use what's in this book completely or just take a piece, there's so much here to jump off of and to be inspired by. That's what I've been really enjoying.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I mean the love of just science fiction, like pop culture and lore that has come before. I mean it pervades this book. I mean it's everywhere. And so moving on to the Vect, okay?
Yes.
And I only say that because what I love about the Vect is the fact that they are an evolving machine race. Like they came from these thoughtless golems, and now this version of them that is sentient and that experiences emotion and has like organic components to it. Like that's what I love, is like it's almost like right before the kind of the version you have of Data. But like somehow after the Borg Queen gets a hold of him and gives him skin a little bit, like they're still, but they're still searching for meaning. It's the same thing. It's just like they're literally like everyone else. We're all just looking for our way in the universe and how we're supposed to interact with it, right?
And this also really scratches that mech urge that I know people in space are gonna, they want the big blasters and they want to be made of metal, and I totally get that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have Warforged in versions of D&D, and I mean that's all this is a more advanced version of a Warforged. And I mean, they do share a couple of qualities with the Warforged, like their constructed anatomy. It's the same thing where you're immune to non-magical diseases. You don't have to eat or drink or breathe. You got that 4-hour power down, but you're completely aware because it's just you standing there on Sentinel. So guess who's taking first and all watches every night? It's going to be the Vect. But I love that they add thermal sight in dark matter, because you should be able to see in predator vision. There's a reason why it's one of the most popular sci-fi, series. I want to hear, when I'm, doing whatever. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. Of course they're machines, so they have that inflexible mind. You get advantage versus saves, or advantage on saves versus charm, which is a lot of fun. And the fact that you like they do it a little different than, like, say, the Warforged, but like the embedded armor, where you have a few versions of it, where you can get one that makes you faster, and it doesn't really give you armor, because maybe you want to be like a warrior, like a monk, so now you get a little more speed, or you have a couple of versions.
Hydraulics.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah. Oh, definitely. You get extra hydraulics. You can get them ups. But you also have two different versions of armor plating, where you can go a little bit more, medium, basically medium or heavy armor kind of thing.
And that's what I appreciate, is there's that flexibility within the race where you could go pretty much any direction you want. It's not settling you in for, you have to be the meat machine. Well, the metal meat machine, I guess, at the front of everything. There are options here, and that makes total sense, and that technology can be adapted in any way. The other nod that I really appreciate, excuse me, in the Vect is the nod to the Foundry, that nod to Isaac Asimov and the Foundry series, which is so core to robotics and AI. And it's nice that it's here and it's kind of nodded to within their lore, the idea of the first Foundry, where it was the Dwarves, because of course it was.
Of course it was the Dwarves. They built everything that screwed up the world. They built Skynet. We just don't know it.
We just don't know it yet. So, yeah, there's so many options already. But next week, we're going to try and squeeze in building a whole character into our 45-minute/hour slot. What are you leaning towards?
Wait a second, though. We got one more race. The Rothians.
We do?
Yes. The raiders from beyond the stars, the cause for the nightmares, the monsters under the bed, these like weirdly kind of synthetically created things, because they're synthetically engineered in a creation matrix. We'll just kind of run through it really quick, but I love that they're a Dex charisma, because it kind of gives you a little freedom with those charisma based classes. Doesn't matter what it is, because you're going to get a bonus to Dex, whether you want to be like a warlock or a sorcerer, or if you want to be a paladin, I guess you could do that too. But they're the monsters that are coming to get you, and I like that they're a straight up PC race. They have this like neuro lock ability, where basically you can just kind of stun people. You get it like once every short long rest. But it's 60-foot range ain't bad on that. And of course, you got your razor teeth and claws, because you have to be all creepy and insectoid. They kind of remind me of like what it reminds me of is a humanoid version of the monster from Pitch Black, with the big head that has like the fin on the head. Like they look cool, and they look creepy and terrifying. But kind of getting back to their abilities, not only do they also have some telepathy, and you don't have to eat, because they absorb energy, like they absorb like psychic energy. Is that psychic energy? So just tell a bunch of good jokes, get everybody's minds working around them, and you can feed your Rothian.
That feels like a euphemism. Have you been to feed your Rothian today?
Well, not yet, but as soon as we get done with this stream, Charlie, I just might.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try not to hold you up.
Oh, I'll be holding myself up. I'm sorry. This is not RPGN. We don't need that. That's not what we need here. We're talking about space. This is serious.
That's it. Anyway. Throw yourself in the brig. Off you go.
Yep. I'll be in there with Elry's dick.
That's a solid reference.
Yeah, they would get that. But yeah, I mean, like that. It's a nice array of races. Okay, and I like it because it gives you some different versions of what you're familiar of, like talking about the Avia Ra. But it also gives you a chance to be the bad guy. Like these Rothians are just like, I want to kill them and just looking at them.
They kind of like also a little bit like Predator / Alien, like had a love child with an insect.
Yeah. It was the freakiest three-way ever.
Yes. Yeah. The art in this book is just great. It's got so much life to it and so much color. And sometimes I think with sci-fi art, it can be kind of just gray a lot of the time and black. But this is really beautiful. And they have some really fun monsters, including, I believe they're called Wizmos, which are little space squirrels who bring chaos, much like every series has a furry chaos-bringing cute thing. The Tribbles come to mind. The little bears in Star Wars.
Oh, Ewoks?
That's the ones. Can you tell I'm more of a Trekkie than a Star Wars fan?
It's quite all right. It's fine. I know a lot of people shit on the Ewoks. I love them. It's like, why not? Why can't there be little murder bears in the woods? Because they murder a lot of stormtroopers. Like, they murder them with rocks and sticks. And I don't think it should be overlooked that sometimes strength in numbers is the best way to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Twirls are the squirrels and Wizmos are the nanobots. I'm really sorry, Tweeter Vecna. Got them the wrong way around. But cute monsters in space. I am so down for all of that. But now that we have covered all the races, including the Rothian, my bad. I'm sorry I missed those. What are you leaning towards for next time? Right, what sort of character do you think you're going to whip up for us? Because you played the human last time we did this. You played the gunslinger human.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm probably leaning towards both kind of martial classes. Probably an Aviara monk or something like that, some version of that. Or I'm thinking a Scathari, like something like a fighter type. It just looks cool to me.
I cannot disagree with that. They look really cool. I think I want to go for effect this time. We had Happy in the original Dark Matter 2-shot that we did, which I recommend people go check out on the YouTubes. And I love the idea of being, a gynoid android robot person. I really like that idea. And then I also am kind of tempted to go and look at one of the classic races, one of the elves, maybe a dwarf. Yeah. Dwarves have a lot going on in this lore set. Maybe we'll roll out 3 characters. We'll see how we do for time next week. And of course, next week when we do start building, we'll go and look at the classes and the subclasses that come with this. We'll look at some of the interesting items. Some of the magic items are super fun in the Dark Matter expansion. Well, I think that's about all we have time to talk about, unless you have any last things that you want to throw in about the races and why we love sci-fi.
Not really. I love the options. It's a nice array, and it's almost hurts to have to choose, and so that's a good thing to have a nice. What's that word? Panoply? Is that the right word? Probably not. Anyway, I sometimes try to use words that I don't really know what the meaning of. Anyway, but having a nice diverse group of races is the hallmark of any good sci-fi series, and so whether it be Star Trek, Star Wars, so it's a nice entry into the sci-fi gaming setting.
Yeah, and there's definitely space for all of the different kinds of games that you can play. You can play the exploration games, you can play the war games, you can play the role play game where you're just on a ship or you're on a planet and you're just going through daily life. Even all of those options are there, which is really nice, because I think sometimes with expansions they get too focused on one aspect of a game, setting up a war game where you've got one side, two side, these are the groups of aliens on both sides and this is why they hate each other. Whereas this, you've got the whole spectrum of kind of human desires, the things that can go on. Monopoly is the right word. Thank you, Sacred Giant.
Yes.
There we go.
I'm vindication.
Yes.
Not that I needed vindication, but it still feels good.
Validation too.
It was validation, yes. But anyway.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to me today. And thank you everyone in chat for coming to hang out. I'm going to open up the giveaways. Let's give away another set of those tabletop loot dice. While we are here, I should probably mention our other sponsors here on Encounter Roleplay, which includes the wonderful Wayland Games, who do up to 25% off of the regular retail price on a whole heap of gaming merchandise, from dice to dice trays to DM screens, all of that kind of thing. And then also, Fantasy Grounds are a virtual tabletop of choice that we will be using next week to roll up those vital stats. But if you prefer to roll with real dice, maybe this is your chance to win some. Let's open this giveaway.
Yeah, get them dice, yo.
Giveaway is open. It's ! loot in chat.
Loot.
Yes.
Loot. Sorry. I'm very excitable. I don't know if you noticed, but
it's an exciting time. We just got to talk about space for like 45 minutes to an hour. Cannot complain, especially with the amount of fun we had playing this game.
I literally do that anyway. Oh, and I just want to show off my new shirt that I got. Yeah.
Oh.
Because, yeah. It's not flat. We checked. We actually checked like what back in the the 1500s, 1600s
Mm-hmm.
with yeah, I mean, it's what I love about the idea of the flat Earth. It's like, we didn't even need to go into space to figure that out, right? Like, it's curved.
I always like the people who believe both flat Earth theories and hollow Earth theories. And I'm trying to figure out the maths and the dimensions in which both can exist. But people find the way. Life finds a way.
Yep. Dr. Ian Malcolm is continually proven right that life will find a way.
All right, let's see how this giveaway is doing. Shout out to everyone who is hanging out in chat today. You have been wonderful and a delight, and you've gotten all of our references, even when we've only half known what we were talking about. And thank you also to Tweeter Vecna and to Maychan Press, who shared with us this wonderful expansion for 5e, which I believe you can get through DriveThruRP right now. It's in its alpha form. The full form will be released soon down the line. They had an amazing Kickstarter, and they're producing a lot of other content too for 5e, which I am reliably informed you can marry up subclasses from some of their other content with the dark matter content. For more on that, message Tweeter Vecna. He is our expert, and I will hopefully be able to share some more of that with you next week when we dive into building those characters.
Mm-hmm. You know, Charlie. Yes. In my Star Wars Bound game, I have a cube Earth, and there's a big like cube versus flat, because it's like the flat Earthers are like the world is flat, and the cube Earthers are like yes, but it's not that simple, and so that's the argument there.
It's flat in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
All right. Our winner is Furious Angel. Congratulations. Drop us a message in chat, and Encounter Roleplay will be in contact with you as soon as Will gets around to it. I actually really enjoyed getting to play in the Prue Jammer, as I like to call it, one-shot that we did over the weekend. We were part of this great big heist. We were on a little gnome spaceship, which was beautifully designed with no windows and powered by 4 boiler engines, right? Yeah, there was one tiny peephole out the back.
No. Remember, it was out the front. But the guy who controlled front, forward, and reverse fucked up his roll, and so y'all were traveling backwards the whole time.
Hey, we had a nice view of where we'd come from.
Yeah. Well, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been, Charlie. So
there you go. I think that is the philosophical lesson we shall take away from today. It's been a long road, but we shall boldly go. Thank you so much.
As the English nerds would say, to go boldly.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me today, Prue. Where can people find you when you are not here with me talking about space on a Friday?
Well, if I'm not here, then I'm usually either Tuesday nights, Starward Bound, 6 p.m. Central on the WebDM Twitch. I am in space with an illustrious crew of miscreants, I guess is the right word for it. That's about the right word, yeah. But also, we have our WebDM YouTube videos on Wednesday. We also have a Monday Q&A video. And you can look through if you want to check out our Patreon, go for that. You'll get an extra podcast every Friday, me and Jim just rambling for an hour and a half. And then once a month we're doing RPGN. We're kind of scaling it. We've scaled it to that. It's the best thing for us for that. So that I believe that actually is next week. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's next week. We're gonna come back with another episode of RPGN.
For people who don't know, what is RPGN?
RPGN is something that I thought of a while back, but it's the ESPN Sports Center for D&D. We look at clips and pretty much make stupid jokes. This is a very thirsty community, so a lot of times there is some innuendo. And so it's just the way it is. We work with what y'all give us, and we work it good, if you know what I'm saying.
So don't forget, if you do make any clips here on Encounter Roleplay of any of the myriad of games that are going on weekly, send them over to RPGN, because they want to be laughing when we're rolling that ones as well, I think is the general conclusion, right?
That's a way to work in a catchphrase if I've ever heard one.
I try.
Unless the dice are ever rolling in your favor, and that's another way.
This is true. And then, of course, on Wednesdays, we are here playing Warhammer. Not Beneath Dark Battles this season, The Great Conspiracy this season.
Oh, yes. And also Call of Cthulhu. And then, Wednesday nights, we're doing Unearthly Twilights, which is an Invisible Sun campaign run by Grant Ellis. And I think that's all of our stuff. Also watch Jim's game on Thursday night, 6 p.m. Central, Land Between Two Rivers. Very Dark Sun inspired game. It's freaking awesome. He almost killed the party last night. Apparently, he did kill one character. Infected another one. Infected another one with slod eggs, and killed another one's animal companion. So he's ruthless. He had a taste of convention gaming, and he wants that.
Can you imagine Slod in space? I think this is the setting they were made for. Like, they leave their hell plane and they come into space and they meet Riker or Kirk.
Oh God!
Or
Janeway. All bets are off. Yeah.
Q.
Yeah, Q.
Q. Q. Okay. And yes, and I am here on Wednesdays with Brit for Warhammer. And the rest of the week, I play in a myriad of games. Go and check out my pin tweet. Coming January 2019, I will be playing a new game on WebDM as well, which is all about vampires. And I'm hopefully going to be back here next year with some more roll-up. But in the meantime, I'm back here next week, and we're going to be rolling some Dark Matter characters. So have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to talking to you very soon. Take care.